Just before this BBC podcast gets underway, here's something you may not know. My name's Linda Davies, and I commission podcasts for BBC Sounds. As you'd expect, at the BBC we make podcasts of the very highest quality, featuring the most knowledgeable experts and genuinely engaging voices. What you may not know is that the BBC makes podcasts about all kinds of things, like pop stars, poltergeists, cricket, and conspiracy theories, and that's just a few examples. If you'd like to discover something a little bit unexpected, find your next podcast over at BBC Sounds.
BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Hello, I'm Liam McLeod and welcome to a new week on the Scottish Football Podcast. And it was another action-packed weekend. Would you expect anything else? As we record, it's the evening of Sunday, the 7th of April 2024. Here's what's coming up for you today. No change at the summit as the top two share a point apiece after a thrilling Old Firm derby at Ibrox. Hearts and Kilmarnock made big strides in their respective quests to finish third and fourth respectively. Are Motherwell in the hunt for that final top six place? As Aberdeen are confirmed as bottom half, St Johnstone pulled a rabbit out of a hat in the capital in their fight against the drop. Ross County are pushed closer to the playoffs. And elsewhere, Dundee United and Raith Rovers remain embroiled in promotion battle in the Championship. And Stenhousemuir are champions, a sentence that hadn't previously been uttered in the club's 140-year history.
This is the Scottish Football Podcast.
So hello to you. Many thanks for listening and for downloading and hopefully subscribing as well. I'm joined on this edition of the Scottish Football Podcast by Kenny Miller and Alan Stubbs, who of course know both of the Old Firm rivals very well indeed, and were glued to the match on Sunday afternoon. Guys, how are we?
I'm good, Liam, thanks.
Good to have you both with us. Has it been a nice weekend, Alan? Have you got up to much?
It has. I've been in London. I just got back up today. I've been at a friend's wedding. Dashed back up for the game today, and it didn't let me down. It was another quiet Old Firm game. another quiet day at the library, eh? Kenny, How about you? You were at the match. Did you enjoy it?
Sure did. You know, I wasn't enjoying it too much in the first half, to be honest. But it turned out to be a spectacular second half. You know, Rangers getting back in it against all odds. Couldn't see that coming at half time. But it just goes to show how quickly games can change on a goal or a decision. And when that penalty was given, I mean, Rangers just completely transformed, and they were the team that were in control. They were the team that were in the ascendancy, and it turned out to be an incredible end to a top game.
Yeah, it was very exciting, and fair play to both sets of players because the conditions weren't great. It's been so windy over the last couple of days. I hope your roofs are surviving better than my shed roof is at the moment. After the game, I think I spent the last couple of hours trying to tart that up as best as I possibly can. Anyway, lots to get through, so let's rattle through the headlines at this point, as we always do. Rangers battle back to save a point from the third Old Firm derby of the season. The 6-goal thriller saw Celtic lead 2-0 and 3-2 before Ravi Matondo's late show saw the sides share 6 goals. St Mirren clinched a second successive top six finish despite losing to third-placed Hearts and Paisley. Saints boss Stephen Robinson says it's been a team effort from the boardroom down. Derek McInnes reckons complacency is the devil as his Kilmarnock side boosted their European hopes by pushing Ross County further into trouble. He's taking nothing for granted. Motherwell's top six hopes are alive for now after a dramatic victory at weather-besieged Dens Park. They'll be hoping for a Rangers win there on Wednesday. Aberdeen's league season will finish in the bottom six despite their huge expenditure after they drew with stricken Livingston. And Stenhousemuir are champions of League Two. A draw against East Fife was enough to get over the line. And the top two in the Championship, both winning to keep that title race burning.
The Scottish Football Podcast.
So as I mentioned, Stenny, champions of League Two. Congratulations to Gary Naismith and his players. They've had a fabulous season. And the first time they've ever been crowned champions. A really big achievement. Of course, I've got Kenny Miller and Alan Stubbs with me here. You will both know Gary Naismith extremely well, of course, for country and club respectively. Alan, you were with him at Everton. Brilliant for him because he's had to drop down into League Two and to actually achieve major history with Stenhousemuir, and they got a little message from a Monty Python in the shape of Michael Palin last night as well, which I thought was very nice. Great for Gary and great for the club.
Yeah, it is. You know, as you just mentioned there, I think he has had a couple of tough experiences early on. You know, but he's found a place where he's had a bit of success in it, and it's great for him. He's a lovely lad. He cares passionately about what he does. It's great to see that he's got the reward this season by clinching a promotion, and a historic one that it is.
Yeah, and they've been the best team by far in League Two all season. We've seen Kenny Falkirk crowned League One champions recently. The prizes are starting to be getting handed out now. But for Gary Naismith personally, for him, he's had his challenges in his managerial career. It's still in its relative infancy, of course, but given everything that happened at East Fife, he started off well there. Of course, he won the League Two title with East Fife. But for him, it's great this coming, 8 years on from that success. It's a real rebooting of his managerial career, he will hope.
Yeah, listen, that's what sometimes you need to do. You need to take that kind of risk, and if it's a drop down and it's an opportunity, it's there. I mean, as Alan will tell you, managerial coaching opportunities are tough. They're tough to come by. You have to wait for that opportunity patiently, and Gary's jumped in there, and they went on this incredible run. Was it 11, 12, 13 wins off the bounce that they had went and propelled them to the top of that league. So it's a big achievement. Like, to win any league's no easy. You have to go. The hardest thing's getting over that line. They've done that now, and like you say, it's a real historic win for the club. Again, obviously a club I know well. I spent a 3.5 month loan spell with them back in the day, 1998, 99, I think it was. We actually ended up getting promoted that year, by the way. We got promoted that year out of Division 3 was at the time as well. Yeah, listen, it was great for me by then. So it's great to see the club back in League One as it is now, and obviously as champions makes it all the sweeter.
It's coming on 3 decades ago, Kenny. My goodness me. That's making me feel ancient. Anyway, look, congratulations to Gary Naismith and to Stenhousemuir. The dust has settled, even if my vocal cords haven't quite managed to get back to normal as yet, after what was an oh-so-dramatic derby at Ibrox.
And Maida is trying to hunt that down there. It's in! Celtic in front! 22 seconds on the clock! Here goes O'Reilly, left-footed, and he scores! Chips it down the middle! James Tavernier stands against Joe Hart. Rangers captain has so often come up with the goods, and he does again! Top left corner! Siba plays it across block, it's a second chance, Silva towards goal! Hart holds on, but it's not in! Dessers has prodded it home! He's given the free kick, no goal! Breaks back towards Siba! Goal! A massive deflection! Rangers 2, Celtic 2. Ida takes a touch onto the right foot, shoots and scores! Ida scores! Celtic back in front! Less than a minute after Rangers equalised. Now it's Matondo, chips it towards goal! What the finish! What a finish from Robbie Matondo! And it is Rangers 3, Celtic 3. What an afternoon in Glasgow!
So it finished Rangers 3, Celtic 3. Kenny, you were on co-commentary duty for television at the match. I was there for BBC Radio Scotland. Where do you start with this one? I mean, I suppose you start with the fact that Rangers were 2-0 down and being well beaten by Celtic, who put in one of, if not the best performance that they've put in this season in that opening 45 minutes. They really were good in that opening half, weren't they?
No, they were outstanding, they really were. And there was a lot of talk surrounding with Callum McGregor player not being how influential he is in that team. But they were outstanding. Even right in the middle, Awata, Hatate and O'Reilly in the middle controlled the game. I mean, they scored 2 goals. They could have had at least another 2, I would say. I think it was an incredible save from Matt O'Reilly's header from Jack Butland. I think Daiza Maeda should have scored again. He hit one straight down Jack Butland's throat. Again, it was a decent enough save. He still had to make the save. But that goal was gaping for him just to slot it away. And that would have been 2-0. At the other end, Connor Goldson probably should have scored as well, to be fair. But there's no doubt Celtic were the team that were in control of that first half. It was looking ominous for Rangers at one point. It was waves of attack, they were in control. And at half-time, I could not see any way back. But again, it just goes to show the character within the Rangers team. What Philippe Clement's instilled into this group of players is like they never give in. That they've been in real sticky situations over his 5 months in charge. But listen, today was probably the stickiest of all those situations. To come back the way they did and actually be the team in the ascendancy and in control in that second half, looking like the team that were going to go on and win it, it speaks volumes to how far they've actually come under Philippe Clement. But I think in the end it was an incredible end to the game, spectacular finish, 2 really good goals for 3-2 for Celtic, and a wonder goal for Rabbi Matondo to equalise. So probably a fair result in the end, the way the game panned out. But a huge moment was the penalty for me to get Rangers back into the game. The whole momentum shifted on that goal.
I was working today with Packy Bonner and with another, given we've got Alan Stubbs on the podcast, another Everton player of repute in Stuart McCall, who, of course, Rangers legend. Alan, he described that opening goal as a freak today when Tavernier's attempted challenge came ricocheting off Maida and straight into the net for, I think, the second quickest goal in the fixture's history. It wasn't quite quick enough to beat Chris Sutton's one from 20 years ago. Yeah. How did you view that opening 22 seconds when you see that happening?
Probably just sets up how crazy the game was in general. I think it was, as Kenny just mentioned, I thought, Celtic were really good in the first half, but I thought Rangers were really poor as well. I thought they looked lost. I didn't think they got to grips with the occasion. I thought they looked a little bit rabbit in the headlights when they were looking to try and press Celtic. They were going in ones rather than 2s and 3s, and as a group, and they were getting picked off, and Celtic were playing through them far too easy. And you look at Maeda really stopped Rangers' biggest threat in Tavernier, having an influence on the game. I know he scores again, and he scores a brilliant penalty, to be fair. It could have easily been 4-1 at half-time, and no one could have blinked an eye in terms of that scoreline. And we've spoken about it before. I think this Rangers team is different. They've got a little bit about them. I think the manager's got a steeliness that has fed through the team, really. I think the mindset of the players is very different now. Whereas, before this manager came in, I think Rangers would have crumbled today. And they would have lost that game 3 or 4-0. But, and I know the penalty is probably contentious. I actually think it is a penalty. I think he is going down, but I think he's caught him. So I do think it is a penalty.
What about the other penalty, the one that went Celtic's way in the first half, which also was missed by the on-field officials, but was pulled back by the video assistant?
I think it's a penalty. I really do. I think there's no need for it. I don't think there's any need for Conor Goldson to stick his elbow up there. I think he has an opportunity to head it. I think he loses the flight of the ball, whether it's coming over someone, and he just doesn't judge it well. But he does stick his elbow out, and I don't think there's any need. So I think from that then point of view, I don't really think any or either side could have any too many complaints about either penalty being given.
Kenny, the reaction from the Rangers supporters at half-time and throughout actually the first half was something we've not really heard since Philippe Clement took over. It was a little bit like the final days of Michael Beale, wasn't it? It was a massive half-time team talk in the wake of that. What were you thinking at half-time when you heard that?
Well, listen, I fully expected Philippe Clement to make at least a change. I mean, I thought he might have made a couple, to be honest with you, because I thought, like Alan says there, they did probably let the occasion kind of rule their decision-making, again, affect their decision-making in the first half. Guys like, for me, Diomande, who's been excellent, came in. I thought he looked a little bit off it. He was making a lot of passes, simple passes were going astray, and it was leading to then counter-attacking situations for Celtic. Tom Lawrence probably wasn't in the game as much as what you would like. Something needed to be done. And listen, I fully believe they would. He's not been shy in making substitutions, even in the first half of games. So I thought he would have at least made a substitution. I think everybody might have been actually expecting Sima to start the game today based on his back and how good a first half of the season he had. But I felt it was the right call.
He was good in the second half when he came on, Kenny, wasn't he? He was very good when he came on in the second half.
He made an impact because what he gives them that direct threat. He likes to run beyond. See, when his first action in the game today, he gets the ball in his feet, and you see he's kind of in his own head, and he's thinking, what is he going to do to try and go past Greg Taylor? It's probably not his game. But see if you get that ball out in front of him or over the top. He's so quick and powerful, and when he gets into these positions, you've shown over the course of the season, he can score goals and he can create. So it was at the heart of a lot of that play. Again, he scored the goal, wicked deflection, but he was also played a part in Desser's goal that was disallowed, where he got again in behind and he tries to cut it back and it comes back to him. He has another shot. So he was heavily involved. So Again, a really, really good substitution made at half-time for Philippe Clement that really impacted the game. And it gave Rangers a different threat. You know, it's a threat they never had in the first half. So at half-time, even with the change that I was expecting to be coming, or changes, I still thought if Celtic just continue in the same kind of manner and what they're doing, it's going to be hard for Rangers to get into this game because they had so much control. I thought Hatate was unbelievable in that first half. His awareness, his one-touch kind of flips round the corner or one-touch passing to three teammates higher up. Like he sees the picture early and balls are coming into him, he'll release it round the corner to Kyogo, or he'll find O'Reilly in that pocket in that 10. I thought he was superb. I thought he actually ran the game, to be honest with you, in the first half. He was superb. But the second half, again, hardly seen him. I can't really think of making too big an impact, and I know he's probably tired and that's why he would have went off, but at half time I just couldn't see a way back for Rangers, irrespective of changes that were going to be made at half time. So again, it's real credit to the players for sticking to it, no going under like Alan says, because it's easy to go under in these situations. You've seen Rangers losing a 3 and a 4 over the last few seasons in this game, and by the way, within those games it could have been more. See this Philippe Clement, Alan touched on it, what he's instilled into this team. They're a true representation of him for me. You know, he's a fighter, he's a winner, he's hungry for success, and he's put this onto his team that he's not going to allow them to roll over. He's not going to allow them to go under. And if he needs to make changes to get that kind of response, he's not scared to do it. So the second half was just I don't know if there was great quality on show in the second half, but in terms of a spectacle and end-to-end and chances and Old Firm atmosphere and incidents, it was an incredible second half.
Will Celtic be left to rue this though, Alan? I think Brendan Rodgers was putting a real positive spin on it afterwards, and I think he kind of suggested during the week that it wouldn't be a disaster if they drew the match, which they've ultimately ended up doing. But leading 2-0 and then leading 3-2 in stoppage time, or just going into stoppage time, there'll be a little bit of him frustrated given what's happened, and given now that Rangers can win their game in hand potentially on Wednesday and go out right top with 6 to play.
Yeah, I think that there will be. But I think when you're seeing the momentum change, and especially when Celtic went 3-2, when you come out of there with a point, I think he probably would have been relieved, because for me, and I know Philippe Clement mentioned after the game that it's a great point and they're going to look, but I don't think it is when you look at it, because they could have gone, potentially when you look at it, they could have gone 5 points clear on Wednesday if they beat Dundee, and that would have been huge. Whereas now they've only got the opportunity to go 2 points clear. You know, and obviously each manager is going to put their different spin on it. They're both going to say it was a really good point. The character that the team showed from a Celtic point of view, first off, you know, Brendan even played down. He didn't think it was the best performance he'd played. I think Brendan's just saying that. You've got Philippe Clement who's saying about the character of the team. It's a great point. It feels like we've got more from the game than just a point. The thing for me is that I think first off, when the game started, and Kenny, you'll know this in terms that Celtic played like they knew what they had to do, whereas Rangers or that group of players have not really had. There's not a lot of experience in there in terms of winning titles, and I think that's what Rangers are going to have to overcome between now and the end of the season, is dealing with that real pressure. One slip up and it's over, because I don't think they're going to make many slip ups out of the team. Realistically, they're going to win the majority of their games, and it's going to potentially come down to the last Old Firm game again. There is a couple of tricky little games in there. You know, Kilmarnock had a great season. Whoever is going to Hearts or is playing Hearts is another tricky game. You'd expect them to take care of the other ones, but it's going to come down to, I think, the Old Firm game again. It's going to go down to the wire, and we haven't had an Old Firm title running that's been as close as this for a while. So it's exciting, and it's going to be who deals with the pressure the most.
I think both teams they'll thought they could have maybe done X and Y different in the game, but ultimately when you look back on it now, the league title's still in both of their hands. You know, if you win your games, you win the league. It's as simple as that. There's 6 games to go, and if you win your games, you win the league. That is it. I think what Rangers have got now, and again, we're fast forwarding now 4 weeks probably before this game's going to be. But if Rangers can deal with the rest of the teams the way they have done for the most part under Philippe Clement, they can afford to go to Celtic Park and get a draw. You know, and I genuinely, I don't think there'll be any other points dropped. And I think it will come down to that game at Celtic Park. An incredible game. The lot of football we played before then, but I think it'll be an incredible affair that day.
Stevie Naismith and Derek McInnes will be playing that to their players, I would have thought, going into the closing stages. particularly given Killy's record against Rangers and Celtic this season.
I can say that. I'm on the Rangers camp.
Of course, yes, you are. You are, to be fair. Just finally on this, Kenny, because Alan was giving us his take there. Who's the happier manager after that today?
Listen, I think Philippe Clement's got to be the happier manager. And Brendan Rodgers, again, he was talking a lot before the game that a draw wasn't a disaster. And I didn't think it would be. I didn't think it was a disaster for either team. But now we've had the benefit of watching the game and we've had a chance, like you say, to digest it and can analyse it. Celtic at 2-0 up, where the chances that Maeda had, the header that O'Reilly had, the header at the back post that Kyogo had, that again, he could easily have put that away. I think there's no doubt Philippe Clement will be the happier manager. His team have fought back for 2-0 down, but it looked, for the most part in that first half, that it was never going to happen. They fought back, they then went 3-2 down again. In injury time, they've got the equaliser. So there's no doubt he'll be the happier manager. Brendan will ruin his chances, but like you say, it's in Celtic's hands. If they win their games, they win the league. Likewise for Rangers.
Just to mention to Jack Butland, Gareth Southgate was in the stands today watching, and he's done himself no harm whatsoever, because realistically he was the difference between Celtic not having a bigger lead going into half-time. He pulled off a couple of fantastic saves.
Would you have him in the England squad?
I don't see no reason why not. For me, he's on the radar to be given an opportunity if he carries on his form.
If you missed sports scene highlights, they're available at the BBC iPlayer. Rangers 3, Celtic 3. What a game it was.
This is the Scottish Football Podcast.
There were 5 games in the Scottish Premiership on Saturday, with the split looming, of course. Teams battling to secure top 6 places and to avoid the relegation zone at the bottom.
Hibernian versus St Johnstone.
Oh, what a big goal that is for St Johnstone!
A lot of tough matches coming up and really important matches, and get that type of performance, we'll take what I get.
Don't know how many times you've been to this ground, Craig, but you never fail to enjoy winning here, do you?
I love it.
We concede 2 shots on target and we concede 2 goals, so yeah, that tells a story.
St Mirren versus Hearts.
Still going, he's still going. Oh, great finish. Really good composure from Olasanya. 2-1.
Delighted with the win in a time where we've got probably 3 of our most consistent performers not involved in the squad.
It's the first time in 39 years that we've gone in the top 6 twice, so they deserve all the credit. They've been fantastic over the course of the season, which is why we're 5 points clear in 5th place.
Kilmarnock versus Ross County.
Vassell! Goal! It's Kilmarnock's taking the lead. They've been pressurising 1-0.
I thought we were just about the better team, and I thought we just about deserved to win the game just because we get that all-important goal.
Disappointed to take nothing from it. The frustration is that we've managed to concede a goal and allow them to get the 3 points when I didn't think there was too much in it.
Dundee versus Motherwell.
Oh, they've done it! Motherwell have done it! Motherwell took the lead. 3-2. What a comeback, and well deserved.
Really hurting. I can't be critical of the boys. The boys have given me absolutely everything. And yes, it's a setback, but it's important that we reset and we react the way we have done all season.
To find yourself here at Dens Park in what is quite clearly a difficult surface, and to find a way back into that game and to win it in the fashion that we did, I thought we were by far the better team in the second half.
In the Premiership, Livingston 0, Aberdeen 0.
1 point closer than where I was before the game, and that's really what I'm going to take from it. It's a clean sheet for the players. We've not had one game for a while.
Thought we deserved the 3 points. That's a signal at the end. I think you've won it in the 90th minute and then VAR gives it off.
Well, let's have a little rattle through what went on in the Premiership on Saturday. The things that stand out, I think, immediately, Kenny, is St Mirren, back-to-back top 6 finishes. Even though they were beaten 2-1 by Hearts, ultimately, just a great achievement. And I know Tony Fitzpatrick had spoken about it a couple of years ago, about them being in the top 6, challenging for Europe, and many people scoffed that Stephen Robinson's led them to 2 top half finishes.
No, it's phenomenal. I mean, there was so much talk about the achievement last season, getting into the top 6 for the first time in however many years. And now they've went back to up. And for me, they've been better. There's no doubt they've been better this year. I think their points total might reflect that at this stage as well. They've been in the top 6 for the most part of the season. They've not crawled in. They're there on their own merit, and they'll be looking upwards. They'll want to finish off strongly. Last season, obviously, they fell away. This season, they might want to come a little bit better in the top half in the last 5 games. So it's all there to play for Stephen and his men. But yeah, they deserve huge credit. But it's no surprise how they've went out for the first game of the season to this moment that they've been one of the better teams within the league, and it's fair for them and sitting in the top 6, and even Dundee with an opportunity to kind of nail that next week as well. It would be 3 big seasons for those 3 managers. When you think, there's always one spot you kind of think that there's going to be in the top 6, because you expect the big 5 to be in there. This season, Hibs and Aberdeen have had really, really poor seasons. But it's also been compounded by how good Kilmarnock have been, by how good St Mirren have been, and Dundee making a real fist of it as well. We get in the top flight, so they all deserve real credit. But yeah, a huge achievement for St Mirren, because I genuinely didn't think they would have backed it up. I thought it was a big achievement last year, but I really expected the bigger teams to come through this year. So huge achievement for Stephen and his team.
They're sitting in a great position, 5 points behind Kilmarnock right now, so that's going to be an interesting battle to see who can finish in 4th spot. Although if Celtic, Rangers or Hearts win the Scottish Cup, then 5th place opens up to European football as well. That battle for that final top 6 place, Alan, is shaping up to be pretty exciting, assuming Dundee don't beat Rangers on Wednesday night, because if Dundee do beat Rangers, then that's the top 6 complete.
Yeah.
You would think Rangers will be big favourites going into that one, but similarly to Stephen Robinson, I think it just shows you how good a job Tony Docherty's done at Dens Park. His first season as a manager, Dundee's first season back in the top flight, and they're sitting in a really good position here to potentially go straight in the top 6.
They are. I think the game on Wednesday is not going to be a reflection of how he's done. Doc's done a fantastic job with them. I don't think anybody would have seen or looked at Dundee finishing or doing as well as what they've done this year. And as Kenny's just been highlighting there, it's probably been one of your opportunities this year to get into the top 6 because of how poor Aberdeen have been. And Motherwell not realistically being in the mix. I fully expect Rangers to go to Dens Park on Wednesday and get a result. There's no doubt about that. But Hibs have been a little bit of a Jekyll and Hyde team. They've had good bits and then they've had disappointing bits.
It was an awful result for them against St Johnstone, wasn't it? Easter Road.
It's even more so with Craig Levein being the manager.
But he enjoyed that one, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure he did. And by looking at watching the highlights of the game, it was them being hard to beat, hitting Hibs on the counter attack. Couple of, to be honest, defending wasn't great in the game either. The first goal was really poor defensively. It's all to play for. I think the fact that there's all still subplots going on, before we get to the break, and then after that, where everyone's going to finish come the end of the season. This is the great part of the season now, where you've got everything to play for. And it's a real test of character and it holds the nerves the best now.
No, absolutely. If Dundee lose to Rangers or if they fail to win, if they lose, that would allow Motherwell an opportunity to potentially sneak in there. And Motherwell and Hibs go head to head at Fir Park on Saturday. What a game that could be if Dundee don't get the result against Rangers. Dundee are at Pittodrie to play Aberdeen. I mean, Kenny, when you look at that from a neutral point of view, and from Hibs and Motherwell's point of view, they'll be hoping Rangers do the job on Wednesday night, because that leaves a really exciting 3-way fight for that final top 6 place on Saturday, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Motherwell have just came and made a real go at it late. They've made a late run. I mean, again, I think it was after 78, 79 minutes yesterday. Dundee are in the top 6 and Hibs are out. And this is like, Alan just touched on there, Hibs is like, it's a really, really poor season and they shouldn't just be scraping in Hibs. They should be nailed into that top 6 with the way the size of the club they are and the budget. But what it does is, it makes it an incredible week next week, because Rangers, I believe Rangers will go up at respect. As long as the game's on, doesn't matter how this pitch is. I think Philippe Clement will have his team set up and ready to go and win. And what that'll lead to on Saturday is a blockbuster affair in these 2 games. Motherwell, if they can beat Hibs, can jump in there if Aberdeen can get the right result against Dundee as well. And it's not a run of fixtures that is impossible to happen. Motherwell are in good form. Again, I've watched Motherwell a lot this season, and even in defeat and even over that long winless run, they were actually playing some really good stuff, and they were unfortunate in a lot of the games, particularly early in that run. So it'll be a tough game for Hibs to go to Fir Park and win. Dundee, with the pressures in needing to get something against Aberdeen, who are now free. They're not going to be in the top 6. They've still obviously got a big semi-final coming up the following week, so there's going to be places to play for, but they might play that a little bit freer. And all these good players that we've been saying that Aberdeen have had for the whole of the season, and there's no way Aberdeen are not going to be in the top 6. Maybe they start to perform a little bit with no real pressure on that game next week. So it's going to be really exciting next Saturday to see who actually comes up and nicks that last spot in the top 6.
I think the Aberdeen fans will be hoping there's no pressure. They're currently 7 points clear of Ross County, who lost to Kilmarnock, and just finally in the Premiership, Alan, I know it was a bad result for Hibs, but a wonderful result for St Johnstone. We touched on Craig Levein there, but that's put a little bit of daylight between them and Ross County in that relegation playoff.
Yeah, it is. I think, it takes them 4 points clear of them, and it's one of them where I think as a manager, it's one of them where you breathe out and go, it's a fantastic result, because I think realistically then St Johnstone going there, if we can get a point, and then move on from there to go away with 3 points, probably being honest is beyond what Craig would have been, expecting. So it's another one, St Johnstone the same. They've been up and down, a little bit of managerial change through the season, but Craig's come in and he's steadied the ship. And he's been around the block. He's a very experienced manager. He knows how to get results.
Listen, that's all we've got time for on the Scottish Football Podcast today. My thanks to Alan Stubbs and to Kenny Miller, and thank you for listening. Remember, we publish a new episode every weekday morning, so you can get your daily dose of Scottish football bright and early. If you haven't done so already, just follow and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss out. Have a good week.
Sacked in the Morning is back.
I got the ball and I put it on the spot, and as I got up, it was literally the best feeling I've ever had. And believe me, I spent a lot of money on feelings in my life.
Joining Craig Levein and myself, Amy Irons, will be some of football's top managers, best characters and most colourful players as we reveal what exactly goes on inside the dugouts and dressing rooms up and down the country.
We had a lad the other week and I saw him, he was playing, the first half he was playing the opposite wing. He had a set of gloves on and short sleeves. And I thought to myself, I can't wait till next half till he comes near me.
As the manager comes in, he smashes the door open, the jacket's off, shirt sleeves are up. We're thinking, here we go. We're all nudging each other like school kids and giggling.
Sacked in the Morning. Listen now on BBC Sounds.